Hey y'all, it's Nancy the Handy Scandy. Welcome back for another crafty venture. I've got a bit of a two-for situation going on today. What's a two-for sitch, you might ask? 2 for 1. In this case, I'm getting 2 slimline backgrounds for the price, the cost, the effort of 1. So I started out by making my background with some watercolor card as well as a set of Lindy's Magicals. This is the Steampunk Soiree set. And if you would like to see how I created this panel and 2 others, I have a link downstairs in my description box. And I also wanted to let you know that I initially created this particular video for the Whimsy Stamps channel, and you are always invited to hop over there and see what they have going on. So of those 3 panels, I chose to use this one, and I cut it out with the Slimline Victorian die set, I believe is what it's called. I'll have that link downstairs as well, especially in case I've given it the wrong name. But when I cut it out, it essentially has a positive and a negative. We will usually throw that outside piece away. I don't know which is positive, which is negative, forgive me, but we usually throw that outside piece away. But when I saw that, I knew that this was the perfect opportunity for a 2-for situation. It created a beautiful frame, and so I decided to use the Build a Fairy Garden die set to create these fun scene cards. Now I've used a variety of different black scraps to cut out my mushrooms and my fairies. I have some matte black. I have some shimmery gray black. It's almost a silver, but it's gray. And then, of course, I have the black glitter. And then I have a black, I don't even know what to call it. It's almost a plasticized cardstock. It has this layer of almost like a laminate over the top of it. It's very hard to die cut, but it has a really cool effect. And so that is what the last 2 mushroom tops are made out of, is that almost laminate black cardstock. So anyway, a variety of different ones gives us different textures, different tones, different shimmers and shines. And so I have them all placed where I want them. That last little mushroom cap on the far left really isn't a mushroom, but I thought, you know what, it can look like it's a tiny one that's just outside a scene. I just didn't want to waste it. So anyway, there we go. So now I have all these sweet little fairies die cut out of the black glitter stock. Now, reminder, all of this cardstock that I've created my mushrooms and my fairies with, it's all scrap. Every bit of it, it's all scrap. Yeah. And so I'm just trying to figure out placement of everybody. I don't know if you guys have heard me use the term audition, but I tend to audition my pieces a lot, and that helps me know exactly where I want to put it. And audition just means I try it in one spot and then I try it in another, just to make sure that it's coming out and things are placed in the areas where I see them in my brain. So I think this is turning out really cute. I felt like the particular die cut background was a little bit too small for that large card base. This particular card base, I believe, was cut out at 7 by 9.5, and then I scored it at 3.5 on the 7-inch side. But the 9 was too long, so I just trimmed it down a little bit so it would make sense. And then off screen, I added some shimmery, iridescent, glow-in-the-dark stars from the Woodland Christmas confetti set. Is it a confetti set? It's a confetti mix from This Calls for Confetti. Now, I do have some other stars from This Calls for Confetti, but these were tinier, so I liked the size, so I just pulled them out of the mix. It was really easy. Finally, on that last card, I also added some black cardstock to the back, but only to the top and the bottom. It's one full piece, but it only shows on the top and the bottom. I feel like that just framed it in a unique way, but it made everything pop. Now on this one, I'm sorry I've already gotten started. I am using Mowed Lawn to do some ink blending on the bottom, and that's just to create the suggestion that there's more greenery going on in the background. Now you can see that I keep bringing in that frame again to audition it. I need a sip of water. Excuse me. But I'm auditioning the frame because I want to make sure that everything I'm adding to my card base right now will fit inside the borders of that frame. Now you can see on the far left and on the far right, I've used a very, very light tick mark with a pencil. Now it's a little bit darker on this particular card because I wanted you to be able to see what I was doing. But I use those tick marks just to show myself the borders of the frame so that I did not ink blend outside of the borders of that frame, but I wanted it also to go all the way to the edges. So I needed to know the inside and the outside parameters of that. So that's why there are two tick marks on either side. Now this stencil that I'm using is called It's Cloudy. It's a 6x9. Of course it's from Whimsy and I love it. I find that I don't have the opportunity to use it very often. So when I knew I was creating a scene like this, I had to pull it out and use it. Now, a top tip would have been for me to cover up all the smaller clouds on the inside of that cloud stencil on the inside perimeter, but I didn't. I got a little hasty. So I would encourage you, if you're going to use the outside of your stencil, cover up those inside stencils. Otherwise, you might have some different types of clouds on there that you don't necessarily want. Now again, I'm using the Build a Fairy Garden die set, and I have everything die cut out. This time I've die cut everything out in white watercolor card. Why watercolor on this particular occasion? Just because it's what I had the most of in white. I have a lot of white scraps, I just don't have a lot of larger white scraps. So the watercolor card it was, and it takes that ink just fine. I'm loving it. So back to the background itself, like I had mentioned earlier, I used mowed lawn for the grass, and then I also used broken china for the sky. Now on this particular mushroom cap, I am using picked raspberry and seedless preserves. Now when I was ink blending, there wasn't a whole lot of difference between the picked raspberry and the seedless preserve. So then I came in with wilted violet, and that gave that mushroom cap just a little bit deeper gradient. And then on that gill piece, I used a heavy hand to lay down the wilted violet ink so that it was just much darker. Now on the yellow one, I used wild honey and I used rusty hinge, and again just did a quick gradient. On the blue one this time I used Mermaid Lagoon. I did not use broken china on the mushroom. I used Mermaid Lagoon. Now on the bases of all the mushrooms I am using antique linen and just a little bit of rusty hinge on the bottom just to give it again that gradient of color. I did not want the bases to be the same color as the mushroom cap. So I was quite sure that I did not use, or I was purposeful, I guess is the better word, that I didn't use antique linen on those mushroom bases. So here you can see that I have added some wet glue. In this case, I have my Barely Arts glue, and I have laid it all around the outside or the back side of my frame. And now you can see that it kind of just sets the stage. Like it's literally like you're looking at a stage, and I think that's really fun. It's a fun way to use bits and pieces that we might otherwise put in trash, and it just gives you a totally different look than using the inside, and we'll be able to see them side to side and kind of compare. Now, when I glued this down, I did not put glue on the tops of the grass because I wasn't sure if I wanted to tuck anything behind the blades of grass, and I did, and you can see that's exactly what I'm doing there with that pink mushroom. And you can also see the gills that are on the very bottom. Those are to go across the very bottom of the actual mushroom cap, not behind it. So that was my bad, and I figured it out, but you know, it's card making. Are there card making police? No, it is what it is. And I know better for next time. This was my first time in using them, and I still think they turned out really cute. Now, as I mentioned, I was using the It's Cloudy 6x9 stencil to make that background. And here I am using one of the sentiments from Beaucoup, Bouquet sentiments, again from Whimsy. And this says, "Your smile is like sunshine on a cloudy day." And there are the two cards in comparison. You can see that black frame as well as all of the stars. And then on the colorful mushrooms, I went back in and I added some sequins from This Calls for Confetti. And these are the aqua iridescent. And I just used a few just to kind of give it a little bit of shimmer and shine. And that blue matches the background and that mushroom cap so well. And I just thought that it was really fun. And I love that Even though it's a two for situation, these cards are incredibly different. Now on this one, making a silhouette, I really felt like that background looked like a muddled starry sky, a night sky. And my only thing is, in making silhouettes, the grass should have been black or gray, not green. And that did not even hit me until I started watching the playback. So would I change something? I would change that. All right, guys. Well, these are my cards, my two for cards. I love it when I have a two for situation. I just feel like that always stretches the card making process as well as our supplies. And if you're already making one, you may as well make two. So, guys, drop me a comment downstairs. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you've had a two for situation. I feel certain that you have, but let me know what that looked like for you. And until then, give this a like and subscribe. I'd love to see you back. And this is Nancy, the Handy Scandy. Mwah, I'm out.